Hello everybody, Loacher for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new deck profile. This time around, it is Timelord. So, this is my first deck profile, 4D Link era format, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to do Timelords first because the deck is very much, how do I say it? I won't really call it anti-meta, but it's very much anti-everything. It just absolutely craps on everything. And not many decks have easy ways of getting rid of the Timelords. Like, the only real easy way for a deck to get rid of the Timelords is using Castel, or if you're doing against a Pendulum deck, Ignister. But aside from that, the Timelords are just so powerful and so obnoxious for most decks that really, in all honesty, as long as you can keep drawing Timelords, you're gonna be annoying your opponent to death. Now that being said though, most of my wins with this deck online have been through rage quit, just making people rage quit. I haven't taken it to a tournament yet, but I have play tested it with a lot of my friends and stuff. And pretty much everybody universally agrees that this is one of the most annoying decks in the world to deal with. So yeah, if you just want to like lose all your friends and don't really want to, just be the guy that everybody hates and doesn't want to duel against in tournament, then yeah, play Timelords. That are Trick Stars, which are coming out in about a week or two. One of those. Let's get on to the deck profile. First up and foremost, we have triple of what everybody calls the best Time Lord, and honestly, I gotta agree. We got a good old Zaphion, the Time Lord. Zaphion, so like every other Time Lord except for Cephalon, who you don't play. Zaphion can be normal summoned without tributes so long as you control no monsters, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and neither player takes any damage from battles involving her. Additionally, like every other Time Lord, she goes back to the deck at your next standby phase, and has an end of battle phase. Now, she does also have a effect that like no other Time Lord has. So every Time Lord shares all those effects plus an effect that happens at the end of the battle phase after they've battled. But she's also beneficial in the fact that whenever she's sent from field to graveyard, doesn't matter how, so like, oh hey, she gets Kaiju'd, okay, cool, you get to draw a card, which I don't get why they didn't put into every other Time Lord. Would have been a really cool thing, but oh well. So at the end of battle phase, whenever she battled, oh hey, just shuffle back all of your opponent's back row back to deck, which is incredibly obnoxious. So yeah, just screw over your opponent and everything they do. And then we got, I believe, the first Time Lord. Cephalon might have came out first, but I'm pretty sure Metaion did. Metaion, like every other Time Lord, he has all those other effects where he's just basically obnoxious and goes back to the deck during your next standby phase. And then at the end of the battle phase, after he battled, he returns all their monsters on the field back to the hand and burns your opponent for 300 damage for every monster returned. This is incredibly powerful because it's a non-targeting, non-destruction board wipe. Gets rid of all the monsters, puts them back in the hand, and burns your opponent for 300 per each one, which is incredibly obnoxious and can really screw over your opponent. And also, it's just another one of the burn cards. It's very much the key thing about Time Lords is that they are a burn deck, very oddly enough, but still really, really, really good. Then we got good old Cammy in the Time Lord. He's kind of like Metaion and Zaphion in that he gets rid of stuff, but basically what he does is at the end of battle phase, you target a card your opponent controls, shuffle it back in the deck, and burns your opponent for 500 damage. The cool thing is that neither player can activate cards or effects in response to the activation of this card's effect. So your opponent can't break their skill, they can't strike it, they can't do anything, and you never have to worry about your opponent negating this guy's effect, which is incredibly, incredibly good for this, because you can get rid of very annoying back row. Like, let's say your opponent has a strike and you know it because they like added it off into Audi or something. Then, oh hey, you just get rid of that, you don't have to deal with it, negating your other Time Lords, and you get that extra 500 damage in, which is always nice. And then we got Lazion, Time Lord, or Lazion, I'm not very sure how it's pronounced, but Lazion, whatever. He is very intriguing. So, like with Zaphion, he has two effects versus the normal one that all the other Time Lords have, where, oh hey, at the end of battle phase, shuffle all of your opponent's cards in their graveyard back into the deck, provided he battled, obviously. That's really nice. Just being able to screw over your opponent's graveyard setup and plays and everything. But the big thing is that once a turn, whenever your opponent adds a card to their hand or draws it, I believe, it doesn't matter how. Okay, so it has to be drawing. Whenever your opponent draws a card, your opponent takes 1,000 damage. Now granted, it's a once per turn effect, but still that's 1,000 damage, and out of all the Time Lords that we currently have, that's the highest amount of guaranteed damage that you're gonna get with this guy. So even if you don't attack with him, you just normal summon him, end turn, oh hey, your opponent takes 1,000, and then you just kind of just sort of whittle your opponent down like that. Really, really good card overall. And heck, if you want to be gimmicky, I've thought about testing it. There's this card called Transmigration Break, I believe, and it's a continuous trap card and states that any card returned to the deck from the graveyard is banished instead. So, okay, attack, activate effect, chain Transmigration Break, and now all of your opponent's stuff gets banished instead of going back to the deck. The only issue with doing that is that Transmigration Break cannot be searched. You got a hard draw into it, and it doesn't really do much to advance your own game state or anything. Still would be a funny little gimmick if you guys want to try it out. I liked it. It was funny, but I don't feel like it's really worth doing. It's not worth playing too much right now, at least in my personal opinion. Granted, like maybe if we get a more graveyard oriented format, it might be a bit more advantageous to go along with that. Like for instance, if Infernoids or zombies become a big thing, especially with the Defendroids coming out, in regard to zombies, maybe the Transmigration Break gimmick troll would be a bit better. But right now, it's just not really worth playing. And then we got 3 Sadian. I'm probably going to end up cutting him down to 1 if I can find something else to fill the spot out with, because Sadian is arguably the worst of the Time Lords other than Cephalon in his own deck, but that's beside the point. So basically, at the end of the battle phase, after he battles, he puts your life points back to 4,000 if it's under 4,000, which is really, really nice and all, but honestly with this deck, your life points don't get that low too often. Not to mention this guy is searchable by 1 card that can get him from deck in 1 or 2 different ways. So really, in all honesty, Sadian's not all that great. And the big reason why I'm playing 3 of him right now is because he's another Time Lord name, and we're still missing 5 of the Time Lords, and they're 3 trap cards. So I kind of wanted to just try and max them all out, because if you don't draw into a Time Lord and you get into the top decking, which can happen from time to time, you're going to need to draw a Time Lord sooner or later so you don't get killed by your opponent just taking free pot shots at your face. So this guy, he's helpful in that scenario, but really just being able to reset your life points to 4,000 is always nice, and can really troll your opponent. And also, like, once you get strikes in here and stuff, and you're paying for all that life points of strikes and Solemn Warning and everything, oh hey, just reset my life points back to 4,000. Okay, do it again. Really, really good. And then we got Time Maiden, triple of her. Time Maiden is an absolute necessity at 3 of in like every standard Time Lord deck, in my personal opinion. Has 3 really powerful effects. The first being, actually I think, yeah, you could argue 4 really. So if you control no monsters, you can special summon her from your hand. You can tribute her off to search out a Time Lord. She counts as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Time Lord. And if she's in your graveyard, you can banish her from your graveyard, special summon a Time Lord from your deck that has 0 attack points. And I believe it has to grab, yeah, so yeah, it can only ever get a Time Lord of 0 attack. So you can never search out Cephalon with this card, which is annoying, but oh well. So either way, this card is really, really good. I don't really get why it can count as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Time Lord, considering all of them can be normal summon without tribute, but oh well. But being able to search out a Time Lord from your deck to your hand with its tributing effect, and another ND effect to be able to banish it from your graveyard, special summon a Time Lord from your deck, is really, really good. Now granted, the in-graveyard effect can only be used, can only be used if you haven't special summoned yet that turn, and you can't special summon at all the turn except for, that special summon. So it's really, really obnoxious, but still really good. I mean, like, oh my god, this card is so freaking amazing. And yeah, it's just, not only that, but also, this card is not a hard once per turn, which is just so good, I swear. But yeah, you just absolutely need 3 of it. I wish it could search out Cephalon and the other 4K beat stick, if we ever get the other 4K Time Lord, but oh well. It can't grab them, but it can grab everybody else, which is nice. And then for the hand traps, I play 2 effect filler. I don't have enough money to get Gil stashed. So I'm playing effect filler instead. You can also use Ghost Ogres, any of your other hand traps that you might want to. And then I, of course, have Max C as a 1-of in here. Hopefully Max C doesn't get hit. I don't think he needs to be, but that's a discussion for another video. But still, Max C, really helpful in this deck. Now then, onto the spells. First up, we got double pot of duality. Aside from Time Maiden, you never special summon in this deck, so you can just use pot of duality to get cards from your deck and everything. Adds a bit more consistency to the deck, always nice. Foolish Burial and 1-for-1 to get Time Maiden a bit faster. Foolish Burial will send her to grave, and then 1-for-1 to special summon her. Or effect filler if you really wanted to, but I don't recommend that. And then the 1 of MST. If you have Galaxy Cyclone, you can play that instead. I don't have that, and I'm not dropping 18 bucks for it. But however, just as a 1 of, just in case, because you already got enough backer removal with Zaphian and Camion, so you never really have to worry about it. But hey, you never know, like, oh, if your opponent has something obnoxious out that you need to get rid of, you got MST to get rid of it. Add a right Draconic Diagram during your opponent's turn and stuff. Next up, we got double Mirror Force for the traps, double Quaking for just, double Quaking, double Mirror Force. I'm probably going to swap out the Quaking Mirror Forces with Air Forces as Link monsters become more and more a thing. Right now we only got 3, and even after Code of the Duelist comes out, no one's really going to be playing Links too much, except for like freaking Zoo, and then they're only going to be playing freaking Mylus Radiant or Mrs. Radiant, whatever its name is. So again, like really honestly, Quaking Mirror Force is still playable right now, but once Links become more and more a thing, you're going to need to swap these out for Air Forces. And then I got 2 Trap Tricks, Trap Hole Nightmares, just simply to stop my opponent and stun them. Same thing with Lost Wind, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Imperial Order, Solemn Warning, Bottomless, Ring of Destruction, adds in that more burn damage, and Torrential Tribute. All of which just helps just trolling your opponent and preventing them from being able to advance their game state, and well, just stopping them from playing. Now that being said though, as you notice, I don't have any strikes and I don't have any D-barriers. If you have the money for strikes and D-barriers, I highly recommend playing 2 to 3 of both in here. Both cards are absolutely amazing in this deck. I have tested them out on YGO Pro, but I just do not have the money for them right now. I know that D-barrier went down to like under 20 bucks, but no one has them. So yeah, but with that being said, if you have strikes, if you have D-barriers, you play them in this deck as 2 to 3 ofs. It absolutely helps out. And I also kind of want to try out Magic Cylinder, because just simply to get in that extra burn damage and stopping my opponent from attacking and everything. I know somebody was recommending that to me to play Magic Cylinder a while ago, but no one has Magic Cylinders. Anyways, guys, so that's Time Lords. There's no extract. It's literally impossible to go into the extract in this deck unless like you 1-for-1 out, effect filler, and then normal summon Time Maiden for, I don't know, making a formula synchron. But that's just so bad. Don't do that. So yeah, the extract is literally unaccessible in this deck, because the only way you're ever going to have more than 1 monster out at a time is with Time Maiden's in graveyard effect, and she locks you out of special summoning for the rest of the turn after that. So yeah, you just don't need an extract, like seriously. So guys, that is the deck profile. Tell me what you guys think about Time Lords. What do you guys think I should change about it? What are your guys' thoughts on about it? Do you like to play Time Lords? Do you hate it? Do you like to play, do you want to make the world burn with Time Lords and everything? So guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out and goodbye. Lived for life. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to my 2 Patreons so far. To my 2 wonderful Patreons, Cambrock223 and Night Zone. You guys are incredibly awesome, and it just, I can't express my thanks enough. Thank you guys both, and I hope everybody has a great day. See y'all later. Peace out.